Oh, hey friends, Mark Holmes here, my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report, because without you guys, this would be nothing. And I apologize that I put a video up early this morning, but we had to drive to Western Maryland to look at a job, and for whatever reason, it just would not load until like 6 o'clock this evening. So if you're looking for your Joe Boo Sports Report fix this morning, sorry, it came up late. But, you know, it is what it is. And for those of you who didn't like the video I put last night, trolls, sorry, I know I can't sing, but you know what? It was meant to be fun and funny. And my philosophy is this. There's so many bad things and negative things in the world that are going on. Whether you laugh with me or laugh at me, I don't care. As long as I can make people laugh and have a good time and forget about the troubles, then the day was worthwhile for me. So, if you enjoyed the video, have fun laughing at it. If you want to laugh about my singing, have fun with it. The only people, it seems though, that aren't laughing are the trolls. Because funny, every other time, the trolls are out there commenting first and talking trash. The only troll I heard from was Texas Made. And basically he just said it sucked. So, wow, kind of speechless on that. But what I wanted to do, you know, today is the beginning of franchise tagging and transition tagging players. Teams have 1 week to do that. And what we're seeing happening right now is teams are trying to get underneath the cap number. And by that I mean they have to be under $168 million on their top 51 players by March 9th. Currently the Cowboys are some $10 million over. And that sounds terrible. But in past years we've been as much as $28 million over at this time. And they can easily remedy that by basically signing with the pen and restructuring some contracts. They can go with Tyron Crawford, Travis Frederick, Tyron Smith. They can go ahead and just basically convert some of that non-guaranteed money into signing bonuses, write them a check, and that is now spread out on the length of the contract. Now, what's interesting is you'll hear about a player restructuring a contract, and there's a misconception out there because a lot of people will say, oh man, that player, man, he is a team player. You know, he redid his contract to help the team out. Well, here's the thing you gotta understand. It's not the player decided, you know what, I don't need this extra $30 million. Use it to bring in some other players. No. That's not how it works. Again, what they're doing is we're gonna write you a check for $20 million right now. Take this, take it to the bank. Money that wasn't guaranteed before. And that's what you have to understand. When you hear a $100 million contract, forget about the total number on the contract. Pay attention to the guaranteed money. Because usually that's the only money the player's going to get out of it. So after they write that check, that money is now divided up over the length of the contract. So you can actually technically take 1 year where you might owe some guy $15 million and convert that money, and you only actually owe on paper $2.5 million, getting cap relief. But the problem with that is sooner or later, the bills come due. So when you look at Tony Romo's contract, people will say, Tony Romo's $24 million, he was overpaid. Well, his real salary for this season would have been $14 million. But because they kept restructuring his contract, they kept spreading it out over the contract. And now, Tony Romo's older. You're trying to get rid of him. You either restructure that for further out and have to worry with it later, or you cut him and have to deal with the dead money. So, when the next team takes him, technically it's a $14 million contract that they're paying. We just have to make up for the signing money that's been prorated and has not been paid yet. That's what we'll owe. And the best bet is to do that as a June 1st cut, because then you can take that $19 million and you can pay roughly 11 of it this year and the rest of it the next year, giving us about $14 million of cap space. Now, the bad thing about doing that is you don't get the money for that until June 1st. Well, by that time, if you had your sights set on a big name free agent, you're out of luck because you don't have the money. So the other option, of course, is taking a trade. You take a trade, you get them off the books, you get that cap relief now, and can use it in free agency. Now we see that Jimmy Garoppolo, people are talking about, could be worth a first-round draft pick. So a lot of people think, wow, well, he's worth a first-round draft pick with only 3 starts and 690 passes under his belt. Tony Romo's got to be worth at least 1 or 2 first-round picks or something like that. Well, sorry to tell you, Brett Favre, who didn't have the injury history that Tony Romo has, basically got a 3rd-round pick for the Packers when he was traded. So don't look for a whole lot in return. So even though you may not get that 2nd or 1st-round draft pick, we're better if we can get a 3rd, really good, better if we get a 3rd, but a 4th or a 5th-round draft pick just to get them off the books, because that'll enable us to be able to take that money and go for that Wardaddy that Jerry Jones was talking about for the defense that we really, really need. And that brings me to my next point. Since the Brandon Carr contract, the Dallas Cowboys have decided to be bargain basement hunters when it comes to free agency. And they've had some really great success with some journeyman guys. George Selvey, before he came to the Cowboys, had all of 3 sacks with 4 teams. Ended up having an 8-sack season. Fantastic. He did great. David Irvin, he showed flashes this year. Signed off the practice squad from Kansas City. But here's the problem. You can have those mid-level guys, but you need that stud. You need at least one really great player that you have to say, we have to stop that guy. If we don't stop that guy, we're screwed. Because if they focus on that guy, guess what? Then your David Irvings, your Collins, those guys aren't the focal point, and they start making plays. So for once, Jerry, we have to, and I mean we have to, get that Wardaddy you talked about. We have to get a real stud. And I know it's going to cost a pretty penny, but remember what I always say. If you want a big impact, it's in the defensive line. Because the defensive line helps all phases of your defense. You get that Wardaddy on that defensive line, he's keeping the linebackers clean to make plays. You get that Wardaddy on the defensive line, he's forcing turnovers because the quarterback is either having to throw quicker or gets a forced fumble. You get that Wardaddy on that defensive line, and your cornerbacks and your safeties don't have to hold up for 6, 7, 8 seconds. So they'll be able to make plays. So that's your biggest bang for the buck. So, Jerry, you've gotten enough of my money, and I guarantee you've gotten enough money from all these fans that are here watching. It's time to spend it on a stud on the defensive line. So, friends, I'm Mark Holmes. That's Cowboy Joe Boo. And as always, oh, shit. Joe Boo needs a refill. How could I forget? Sorry about that, Joe Boo. Have a great night, and I'll see you in the morning.